In a world where brand experience is paramount, upholding your company's standards demands unwavering consistency in every location. At the SBOA, we understand the critical role consistency plays in driving your business's success. That is why we joined forces with MSI to introduce a revolutionary internal audit program tailored to meet the specific needs of your organization. Our game-changing audit program leverages cutting-edge technology and expert insight to bring you unparalleled accuracy and reliability. We know that success in this competitive environment is paved with adherence to operational requirements, and every company has its own standards along with state and local regulations to adhere to. So we've made our internal audit system completely customizable, all in a user-friendly app. The app enables on-site agents to collect real-time data and insights from their respective locations. This feature ensures that information is up to date and allows for quick responses to any issues or challenges that could arise. Our internal audit program also has advanced photo and video reporting capabilities. These visual reporting tools allow leadership to visualize non-compliant sites and gain a comprehensive understanding of the issues, with specific examples for clear context, which enhances communication and leads to faster resolutions. And it can be done with just a few clicks and the snap of a photo or quick video. And our program provides an in-depth understanding of each store's performance and challenges. This feature allows for a comprehensive assessment of how well each location adheres to operational requirements and brand standards, helping to identify areas for improvement. Are you ready to take your self-storage business to the next level? Explore our comprehensive suite of services, including internal audit programs, mystery shopping, and unlock your full potential. Contact us today to embark on a journey of excellence and success. 248-254-9000.
Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is a premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and Self-Storage Unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the SBOA for another Self-Storage Unlocked educational webinar. Today's episode is called Just Answer the Phone, and we're going to talk all about why answering your phone is important and how much cost you are going to incur if you don't answer those phone calls and how much money you potentially are losing by not answering those phone calls. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jessica Johnson. I'm the president of the Storage Business Owners Alliance, better known as the SBOA. I have a few quick housekeeping items for you before we get started with our speakers today. This is your time to interact with our speakers and ask live questions. So if you could please do that. I see a lot of you are commenting in the comment section. Go ahead and put your questions as they come up. In that comment section, you don't have to wait till the end. If you have a question as we go, please go ahead and ask those questions. We will ask a couple poll questions today as well. If you could put your answers to those poll questions in the chat area, it helps us to get to know you a little bit better and see how we can service you and your self-storage business. Today's webinar is hosted and sponsored by XPS Solutions. And Shannon Charbonneau is going to be our guest moderator today with the assistance of me, but I get to sit more in the background on this one. Shannon's going to take over, and we could not do these type of events without our partners in the industry. So huge shout out to Universal Storage Group, Haviland Storage Services, and Donald Jones Consulting Services teams. They are the ones that helped us execute today. And if you saw by that earlier commercial, Storage for Rookies is occurring next Wednesday, March 27th. It's starting an hour earlier at 10 a.m. It normally starts at 11 a.m. This is session 4 of 4. Technically, we actually have 5 sessions. The 5th session is an add-on session that anyone can add on because the 5th session is all about how to sell your self-storage business properly, as many people might be wanting to do that this year with the state of what's going on in self-storage. Some may not, but it's a great session for you to attend. So if you've been part of that series, again, next week, session 4 is on Wednesday, March 27th. If you've not been part of that series and you are interested in that education, it is education for newer or new owners and operators in the space. That's why it's called Storage for Rookies. Our background, we are also owners and operators in the space. We've been doing this for about 25 years, and we created this series so you don't create and happen to have the same mistakes that we had early on in our business. We mastered it. We feel like we've mastered it, and we're doing pretty good at it. So we want to help continue to educate the industry on how to get in the business, how to operate, how to market, due diligence, develop. All of those things are part of that series. So you can either go in and register and join us live next week for session 4. And then when session 5 comes on, if that's a session you want to include as an add-on, you can do that. If not, and you want to join the entire series live so you can see session 1, 2, and 3 live versus having to go back and watch the replay, please check our weekly newsletter that comes out on Tuesdays. Dates for the Group B of Storage for Rookies will be coming out soon. We're currently on Group A of our students. If you want to be part of Group A, like I said, you still can. You just have to watch some recordings. If you rather get the live training, then you should wait and become part of Group B. And again, all of those announcements are always in our weekly newsletter. So let's kick this off. First, I want to start with a video from our sponsor today, XPS Solutions. So stay tuned while we play that for you.
If I were you, let's say you have 5 properties and you realize, look, I can't staff enough property managers to cover all my hours and not miss opportunities I'm probably going to have in the market. I can't staff enough people to keep all of my tenants happy all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my own business development process here for my properties. I'm going to hire, 2, 3, 4 people to cover 100 plus hours a week to make sure we're there for them. I'm going to train them. I'm going to write software to be able to talk to my site management system. I'm going to record calls and do quality assurance on them. I'm going to drive my promotional special. I'm going to do all this here in my central office. If I'm you, the very first thing, once I understood the value of that concept, I would look for somebody to do it for me instead of me doing it myself, because I could never make that a profitable venture. It would never pencil. That's why this company exists. We solve that problem. We are your national sales center.
All right, so up I have Shannon from XPS, who's our guest host and moderator for today. Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning, Jessica. And as always, thank you so much. It's lovely to see your face again.
Likewise.
I love it. Everybody, my name is Shannon Charbonneau. I am the Vice President of Client Solutions for XPS Solutions. I know that's a lot of solutions, but I have them. We exist to help your tenants, your prospective tenants, find you, love you, and stay with you. That's what we do. We are here for your customer experience, and we train and we do all those things that John just said. We maintain those softwares, we maintain all of that just to make sure that you get the service that you need for your customers, because happy tenants stay longer.
They absolutely do, Shannon. Thank you so much for that. And I know you're going to give us some statistics when we kick off the call today about, just call centers and how smartphones are playing into this and everything that you guys can do over at XPS to help operators out there make sure that they're answering their phones. So we're going to introduce our next speaker. Thanks again for being here, Shannon. Up next, I have Sarah Beth Johnson from Universal Storage Group. Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Tell us all about you and USG. And we actually have a video from USG that we will play at the end of today's session that can tell us more about USG. But go ahead, Sarah.
I'm Sarah Beth Johnson. I'm the VP of Sales and Development, and I have been with Universal for 10 years. We are a third-party management company. We also do consulting, feasibilities, training. We actually have a tour right now. Last year we did the Pearls of Wisdom tour, and this year it's the Right Time tour. So it's all about it's the right time to know your numbers. It's the right time to start marketing. It's the right time to hire correctly. So feel free to reach out if you'd like to learn more about that.
Thank you, Sarah Beth. And as Sarah Beth mentioned, the Pearls of Wisdom tour, they actually did a special series with the SBOA back in January, I think it was. God, it feels like that was forever ago, and it really hasn't been forever ago. But any of our enhanced members or any people that are out there that are not a SBOA enhanced member and want access to that content, Iris has posted in the chat how you can become an SBOA enhanced member, and you would get access to the Pearls of Wisdom tour that we did with USG. It was about a 3-hour online session. It's a good one though, so highly recommend that you guys go out there and take a peek at that video if you weren't able to see Ann, Sarah Beth, Lou, or Stacy live last year when they did it across the nation, it felt like, right?
One end to the other, Florida to California.
It sure was. Well, we appreciate y'all doing that. So thanks again for being here today. Up next, I have Sue Haviland from Haviland Storage Services. Sue's been around for a long time. Good morning, Sue.
Good morning. I have been around a long time, 35 years. I learned this morning I'm the elder of the group today, but I got my teeth originally at Extra Space, and over the many years went out on my own, and we are a full service third-party management consulting firm. Like my counterparts today, we do all kinds of training and manuals and all the good things to make sure your operations are shining. So I'm happy to be here with this great panel today.
Yeah, and Sue's a great trainer. She's been on several of these with us before. You always have good insights. You always have interesting testimonial stories of what you see out there in the field. So if anyone wants to connect with Sue and hear some of her wins and then maybe some of her challenges she's experienced in those 35 years, she's a great resource for you.
That's what you get with the auditing and the training. You always get lots of good, this is how you should and this is how you shouldn't stories. So.
Correct. I love the before and after testimonials that you can have that related to those. So thanks again for being here today with us, Sue. And last but certainly not least, we have Takara Williams from Donald Jones Consulting and Services. Takara, tell us all about you, how long you've been in self-storage, and what you guys do over at Donald Jones Consulting and Services.
I'm Takara Williams. I'm the Director of Operations for Donald Jones Consulting and Services. I have been with him with the company for 7 years. First time in self-storage. It's been a fun ride thus far. We do management. We're a third-party management group and consulting group, and we do management, consulting, feasibilities, construction, and training as well.
Awesome. Takara, did you want to get into self-storage, or did this kind of just fall in your lap like many of us?
I actually happened to go to a barbecue with a friend, and that's where I met them. I was in HR and hospital risk management before I started.
Oh, that sounds challenging within
Yeah.
itself. I think you made a good change. It's way easier to sell air
Yes.
than that stuff. So, awesome. Well, let's bring everybody up. And Shannon's going to go into some pretty interesting statistics. And one I wanted to share too, Anne-Marie DeCosta shared this the other day on LinkedIn when she saw all of us sharing that we were doing this session. She said, you know, non-answered phone calls are the number one leading source to 1-star reviews. We know 1-star reviews are stuff we don't want to see out on Google. So that's an interesting fact out there. And if you're not answering the phone, they are shopping these days. If they call your competitor and they answer the phone, they're probably going to rent with your competitor since you missed the call. But Shannon, I'm going to let you take it away with some of these stats that you pulled for us and then some of the questions that you have for all of us here today.
Sure. I am just going to get started with this. At the recent trade show in Washington, D.C., I had a person who is semi-new to the self-storage industry tell me, we don't have staff and I don't intend to place a phone number on our website. We have a great website. People can rent online. So I'm going to begin with that in mind as we have this conversation. And
that's
as we have a
commentary,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Because
we have a panel of women who do client experience and training and sales and all of that for a living. I can't wait to hear what they say about that.
Yeah, me
Yes.
too.
So the one thing that I will say is that I think that the Google says that we are now up to 310 million smartphone users in the United States. Okay, so that's a lot of people carrying a lot of technology in their pocket everywhere they go. Yes, they absolutely are accessing your website. You should have a beautiful website, but we also have to talk about how to help live people with live people, right? We have to. So we want to talk about the difference. Like, how are you going to handle that? Do you have person on staff? Do you have help outside of your company with a third party? And how do you use technology to reduce your overhead, keep your operations, minimal, and still get your tenants the help that they need? So I'm going to start with a question for the whole team. You guys jump in here. Based on what I just said from that gentleman that I met at the SSA, is any of your business still happening or your client's business still happening on the telephone, or is it 100% web-based or on a mobile app?
Well, we looked at, and ours is slightly declining on the phone. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's really great. I talked to AJ, our CEO, and we utilize District Manager. So if you have District Manager, it's a great program. You can actually pull up these reports that'll give you what's going on and the trends and the history. Mm-hmm. But it looks like phone calls are a little bit down, and that's why it's so important to close everyone that comes in on the phone. And web and walk-ins are a little bit higher this year so far.
Love it.
Shannon, I would agree that I've seen phone calls go down, but going back to about the completely remote, I've got a little bit of everything. I've got sites that I've never been to, but I run them remotely. Mm-hmm. But I'm still that go-to, or my staff are those go-to people, because when somebody can't figure out how to use their gate code, get in. So I utilize, my call centers, and then we still have a person, because that's where, like Anne-Marie said, you get into those bad reviews if they can't ever find somebody to help them when there's an issue. And I have a couple clients right now that are pretty new to me. They've recently bought small remote properties, and they're trying the same thing. They don't want to have any staff. They've let the staff go they inherited from the sale, but they don't know how to do anything. And they think that within 30 days, they're going to have it all figured out, and just rely only on their website with nobody to show units, nobody to answer calls. And so in this one particular case, we're already on our third month, because it was only going to be 30 days. We're already on our third month of, oh my God, Sue, what am I going to do? And I'm like, well, you have to start doing some of the things we recommend. And then, you can run remotely, but you still always have to have somebody. You need somebody. So there's, it's finding that good balance of what will work, but making sure you have the good systems in place, and you can't rely only on the technology.
Yeah.
Because, same thing. What if your internet goes down? What if, they've got to have somewhere to get a hold of somebody. So.
True. Takaro, how about you?
So it depends on the market. So we see in our urban markets, the phone calls are down, but in our secondary and tertiary markets, the phone calls are still coming. And that's typically because in those markets, people tend to want to speak to someone on the phone versus it feels very cold to them just to go to a website and then attempt to find the unit. And then if you're employing a technology like no key, that where they really get confused, they tend to throw their hands up. So we are seeing a decline in larger markets. The smaller markets, our phones have never stopped ringing.
For sure. Well, and
I
we say
think that makes sense, right, Shannon? Like,
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Like the smaller markets, it's always been ran more by mom and pops. You haven't been inundated by like the larger institutional guys or the REITs, but they're starting to venture into those markets. Whereas like your urban market probably is predominantly REITs. So it's like, it's just people have been trained that way in essence, because of the different brands or companies that they're dealing with, I think. So,
yeah. And it is absolutely not at all a surprise to see we measure that as well, Sarah Beth, we call that calls per store, right? Same year over year. That is less than it was 10 years ago, for sure, because of all the technology that has been added. There's still that many transactions happening or that many inquiries happening. They're just not necessarily all on the telephone, for sure. So talk to me a little bit about what other kind of communication methods are you offering, especially to your prospects, but also to your current tenants. And, we already kind of addressed that it's tilting a little bit, which is great. So Sue, let me start with you. What else is there?
Well, I think we need to remember sales isn't just about selling a product or service. It's about solving our problems for our customers. So on the whole big picture. And I think a lot of times our clients go to a trade show, they go to an event, they sign up for services, and then that's the end of it. They don't learn how to use them, and they don't train their staff how to use them. So they have all these things available to them, and I've had clients, for example, they've never logged onto their dashboards. They don't even know what all they could do with what they just signed up for. And they just pay the bill or somebody signed them up for it, moved on to a different department or another company. And then it's sitting there. So I think, when we have all kinds of ways. I bought the majority of my sites all have cell phones. Back in the day, we always just relied on our employees to text our customers or use their own phones. And I wanted to get away from that. They shouldn't have to do that. But my sites all have their own cell phones. We gotten rid of a lot of our landlines at some, and they go to the cells. So whether they're using that to text people, about existing customer things, or they're texting their new leads to follow up quickly and more efficiently, all the different phone apps we can use. Again, learning what you have with the services you have. So if you have apps that you can make available to your customers, making sure first your staff know how to use them, and then training your customers how to use them and why it's easier for them and better. And so between websites, texting, calling, and like you said earlier, a lot of people have gotten away from calling back leads and are just relying on that website to close it for them or an app to close it for them. But if you have somebody who still physically answers your phones or works at your stores and follows up on those leads, you got to make sure that they're actually doing that, not relying on, set up tasks or systems to do it for them.
Sarah Beth, I saw you nodding. Do you have something you want to add to that?
Oh, no, I totally agree with everything that Sue's saying. It's amazing how, with all the different third-party management companies out there, that they're the top ones, and I'm not trying to brag, but the top ones and the ones that have been around a long time, we all do things pretty almost the same. Like we all kind of have the same philosophy. We may do things just a tad bit differently and in our own way, but we all come up with the same philosophy and, in general.
I think it's key and goes back to one of the main things in our industry. It all starts with the training. So it can get very overwhelming with all the options that are available to us now, and depending how thickly staffed you are, who you have in certain places. A lot of my clients are small operators. They don't have a big department. I'm it. So I've got to wear all the hats of all the different things. And so, I can understand for somebody who's new to this or that, learning all these new technologies and what they integrate with and how they work. And I think one, that gets overwhelming for people and will sometimes stop them from trying something new, because it's a little daunting to think they might have to learn it, or they don't have somebody they can step into that role. And then, and again, just the shopping of it. Sometimes some of us get lazy and we're comfortable with a vendor. And that would be my best advice too. You always got to be shopping, your services, make sure you're utilizing them best, that you're still getting the best plan and program for your needs currently to make your stores run optimally.
And make sure when you go to the national shows, because one just happened and one's coming up, if you're new to the industry, that you map out who you want to talk to and have a plan in place, or speak to somebody that's been to the shows before that can kind of guide you. Because going into that trade show area and seeing, the 150, 200 vendors, and you're like, where do I start? What do I do?
And I would say take a systematic approach to that too, Sarah Beth, right? Like I see brand new owner operators going into marketing sessions, and like, you don't even have a facility in acquisition mode. Why are you in a marketing session? Like, please be thoughtful of where you go and where you spend your time. Like, you should be in development sessions and financing sessions, not in marketing, right?
And I think to piggyback off of what Sue and Sarah both said, I think it's also important, if you're a new owner or you're using a new technology, to fight or and not acquiesce to not having a demo and not understanding the platform that you bought into. Because Sue, we are in the same position where a lot of our owners will say, "Oh, I bought this, we should use it," but they will ask me for reports and they've never signed in and they don't know how to use it, or can it do this? And I'm like, okay, it can. So let's spend the time. So take the 2 to 3 hours to actually learn the programs.
And as my background with all the auditing, I've always tell my clients, your on-site staff can't know more about your business than you do. I mean, that happens a lot. In most cases, it's fine, but there's those cases where it's not. And you need to know what you have, what you're running, how it's being run, and what's, working and not working for you. And what we find a lot of times too is when people get comfortable, and this goes back to what I said about it's daunting. When you get comfortable using something, especially at our site levels, we're not so quick to want to change anything or add anything. And so you'll get resistance at the site level for some of these programs. And that rolls us right back to the training part. Like, if you're doing your job well, your team is always open and receptive to those challenges and changes to institute these programs and get back to, answering those phones, and doing it a great way and doing a good job at it.
So I want to piggyback with a question on that, because you've mentioned training several times now, and I have a very specific question for you. Talk to me about training a property manager who has been with their company, let's just say 2.5 years at this time. So talk to me a little bit about the difference in their world between when they started and first got their training and what's actually going on in the world today.
Well, first and foremost, we try to do ongoing training. And a lot of us got a little lazy the last few years when things were rolling so hot and good for us, and we could have whatever rates we wanted, and we were full, we had wait lists. And so for me personally, what I'm finding even with my own sites, and, we do a lot of, I'm always sticking them with other people's webinars, because you learn they get sick of listening to me, and I could say the same thing and they could listen to Cara or Sarah Beth and they'd go, "Oh my God, that's a great idea." And you're like, yes. I've been saying that. But so it's always ongoing training. But what I'm finding recently is I've done a lot of extra rounds of in-person. My large sites still all have people at them. So I have a combo of remote and on-site. So my on-site people, I've been shopping quite a bit the last little bit, and also did in-person shops. And what I found is we got complacent and lazy. And even because our occupancies have been good, but now when you have less calls in some markets coming in, we have to make sure we're the one closing that lead. And so we have been, whether you're new or you've been 2 years, or, I have one of my people who's been with me over 20 years. We're doing those constant, and my area managers are doing a lot of role playing. They're starting that from all aspects of it, but we've just been really heavy on being able to answer those phones again, because often we think we sound a certain way, we think we say certain things. And then, one of the things I love about my programs that I have when my managers can't answer through XPS is that sometimes my call center is the one getting shopped too. Yep. And we also use our recorded calls through that, and that are our own employees, and that to go, what's good about this call, what's bad. And you have to just have that constant look, and you got to look at it from new people. And when you're looking at the answering the phones too, look at the person you're training, because some people need a script and some people can't follow a script at all, or they have a horrible call. So for me, I look at it with my person, and what kind of training, how do they learn? What kind of training can we have? And, Takara and Sarah Beth can chime in on that you have to be able to be flexible and not put somebody in such a box that you're setting them up to fail because they just need a slightly little different way to go about it to be really successful at it.
Shannon, I just want to piggyback on what Sue was saying about like listening to recorded calls. There's a ton of different mechanisms how you can do that. The SBOA, we do mystery shopping on phone calls too, third party mystery shopping. And I'll tell you a couple alarming things that we see. First and foremost, that person who answers the phone, whether it be an internal staff member, third party call center, whoever it may be, the biggest miss is getting the name and phone number of the person on the other line.
That better not be our call center.
No, I'm just saying, like, because I'd have to dig into each one to see who it was.
And then she's talking about our employees, not yours.
But I'll give you an example. We shopped one for an owner. And he's like, I want you to shop my best employee. And that best employee didn't do like basic fundamental things. And it's so easy. Like when you open that call, hey, in case we get disconnected, what's your name and number? If you can get the email address, even better. So that's problem number one we see most consistently across the board. Problem number two is we don't see them asking enough probing questions to get to know this tenant. Like, what are you storing? Maybe you need a 10 by 20 and not a 10 by 10. We don't know unless we ask those questions. And then the third problem I would say is really them closing that sale, like not letting that person get off that phone without having some form of reservation or rental like commitment. And just letting them go off. That doesn't happen so often, but I mean, it does, because normally they rent within like the first call or two. But that's kind of what we see on the data points on our side from the mystery shopping calls that we do across the United States for self-storage. So.
Well, you mentioned philosophy there, and Sarah Beth did earlier as well. So I want to ask the question, Sarah Beth specifically, you guys are a large operator, right? You have a lot of facilities that you are handling, but something, and there's something to be said for a management company. You kind of have to work with all the individual owners, but something tells me you have an overarching philosophy of this is how we are going to handle our client experience, right? So talk to me a little bit about what are you looking for your tenant experience? What does that look like?
So the main thing to remember, and I posted this on LinkedIn the other day just about sales in general, is you are a salesperson. You're not there just to, be a receptionist or an order taker, as I like to say when I walk into some of the sites. You're there to actually sell a product. But the whole idea is to be that person's solution. That person is going through maybe a traumatic event. Maybe somebody died, or they got divorced, or their house burned down, or they're moving and they're stressed out. listen and be that solution. And like Sue said, we have a phone script, and yesterday we were talking about the points we really wanted them to hit on the phone script and the ones that we weren't so concerned about. And yes, you need to get a name, you need to get a follow-up, you need to find out and, help figure out what size they need. But you need to listen to that person and what they're saying and tailor the conversation to them. Because the more that you connect with that person and what they're going through, the more likely they're going to be to use you. And make sure that you set that appointment and have that person come in and say, what are you, 3:00 tomorrow? Is that good for you? Is that when you would like to come in, or would Thursday at 2:00 be better? I want to make sure that I have the time dedicated to spend to you, and let's figure it out. And we have a neighborhood board, and they're getting divorced and having to move. Do you need a dog sitter? I have people on my neighborhood board that are dog sitters. I can send you information. Once you connect with that person, they're going to be more likely to use you. But again, it also starts with the owner. And I harp on the owners, and I don't mean to sound, bad and make them feel bad, but you've spent millions of dollars to build this facility. And, your brand and how you look out there depends on how you treat your staff, because how you treat your staff is how they're going to treat the people that call. How much training you have and knowledge you have that you can pass down to them if you don't want to hire somebody to come in and do it. Depends upon how well your staff is going to do for you. You can't expect a miracle if you're not putting in the effort to learn the business and learn the technology and do those things. You can't expect the person that you hired to put in more effort than you want to put in. So again, and your vendors, Shannon, you're only as good as your vendors. In the call center, and the call center isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, then that's going to hurt your brand, because the people are going to talk badly about that. Everybody's on the Facebook groups in their communities, and they chime in as to who's good and not. And you're only as good as your vendors too. Yep. So, just be the solution, be there for the people, and treat them how, again, you want to be treated.
I love it. Takaro, is there anything that you have that you would add to that you guys talk about internally?
So we have a script, but I have a script where I tell, like Sarah Beth, you hit these points, but the largest selling spot or the largest selling point of a facility is you, the manager. Mm-hmm. And so you are their first contact. And I want you to be you, but with a smile. And so I don't want you to change or become robotic. I want you to speak to them the way that you would speak to them. I will say that one of the new philosophies we're trying to employ and be better about is we have a lot of Spanish speakers. And so taking phone calls from Spanish speakers and having someone on staff who we have now, who, if they're struggling with a Spanish speaker, to have someone speak to them. And especially in our markets where 80% of our market are Spanish speakers, native Spanish speakers. And so that has been one of our largest hurdles, and a change of philosophy where we knew we had to kind of skew to more Spanish speakers of hiring those people, because that is where our revenue is coming.
Which is then something, going back to what Sarah Beth said about making sure that you're evaluating your vendors as well. Obviously, you want to make sure that your vendors know that, hey, listen, be prepared to take calls for 80% of this particular facility to be in Spanish. That is valuable information for them, right?
Yep.
I love it. Sue, how about you?
Again, agree with the ladies. And I think when we're, like I said, with the scripted or unscripted, it's getting those key things in that when you're answering the phone, like you said, one of the things besides what's already been said is we always ask for that reservation or appointment. We're always trying to create a sense of urgency as well. Even if we have 4 or 5 or more of something, it's pretty much kind of our last one. Mm-hmm. And so that's a common thing I see too when, I'm shopping for somebody or I'm listening to them is, we're just not asking for that sale. And, we need to make sure that, we're always asking for that sale at the end of it, and how quickly our follow-up is when a lead does come in. Mm-hmm. Shannon, you can maybe speak to that even better from some of your stats from all the calls that come in for you. But, if you have a manager, like Carl and Sarah Beth was saying, if they don't care, they feel like you don't care, they're not going to be too quick to answer the leads and that come in. So again, back to the training, what are you training your staff for, how quickly you follow up and how often you follow up on those leads?
Sure. I agree with Jessica and everybody. You really need to have somebody secret shop your facilities, because I shop thousands of facilities a year doing feasibilities. And I really just want to call the owners and just break my cover and say, for the love of God, please go talk to your manager. This is what they said to me. Please, I just want to help you. But have people secret shop, because they're going to talk different to you when you call than if you just have your cousin call and try to rent a unit. And you need to know what those people are saying. And one of the biggest pet peeves I have is an untrained manager who is an order taker who tells me, go on the web, you get a better deal there. You can find all the information you want on the web. Just go to the web. And you need to know if your manager is saying that or not, because that's not what you do.
You're hurting my client heart. My client services heart right now is like just twisted a little bit.
I know.
One of the tips I do when I'm interviewing for resident managers, site manager, or storage consultants is we'll send our top candidates to shop our competition. Or sometimes it's calling them, sometimes it's visiting them in person. So it's twofold for me. I see what they learn about our competition and, what they might see differently. And then it also helps me with what they do see and what they comment on, like where they may tend to lead on their own sales abilities, what stood out for them. So I've found that to be a good tool in when we talk about the little mystery shop, a good way to get a little free, quick mystery shop as well, but really helps me with a potential candidate because we know our competition well. And so when I send a candidate, I'm specifically looking for certain things they might point out to me about that shop. And if they can't, I know they didn't really do it or they weren't really into it. And if they don't spend the time, then they don't really want to be my lead salesperson.
That's true. So I'm going to ask you this, because actually all three of you mentioned leads and following up on leads and trying to, like asking them to do the reservation right over the phone. Are any of you currently set up to just rent it? Like if they call you, you just do the rental right there. Yes. Fantastic. So the reservation is kind of your fallback at that point. Love it. Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because I was like, we're doing rentals for you guys, right? Yeah. Like we should rent it. Just rent it right now. That's the goal. Assuming that you guys have owners who care about their budgets, do any of your owners ever tell you they care about
they just give me all the money. No. Take what you want, Sarah. Put it in the performance.
We all know our owners are always telling us to cut our staff budget. So come on.
And that's been since COVID, the number one thing. I think that's been what they think is an easy thing. But I jokingly ask the question, but it's serious because there are people whose lives, their jobs depend on that. And because you need to make sure you're still getting the service for your customers that you need, even if you make that change. So can somebody talk to me a little bit about what technologies are you using? What are you doing to try to help with those costs where you're not just changing cost from one area to another, and now needing a developer for your own internal software because you don't want to have a property manager?
Have a great call center.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Sarah.
Call centers, GoToConnect. So we use GoToConnect, which is a web-based phone system. Like Sue, our managers have cell phones. So if they're out on the property, they can answer the phone. We have Ring doorbell. So if somebody comes to the door and they're out on the property, they don't miss anybody. But the GoTo allows us to run properties remotely, that if a manager is out sick, another sister site can log into their desktop, forward the phones right to them, not have to worry about it. Yep. Most people will rent. A lot of people look online after hours, and a lot of people have cut hours for their staff that are in the store. So what plan do you have in place, and how many leads are you missing not having a plan in place for after 5 o'clock or on Saturday after 2 o'clock if you close then, which is not a good idea, or Sundays or whatever.
I heard that Jim Mooney did a session at the SSA for property managers, and he asked the question to the room, who's still using like old school answering machine, right? Or voicemail, whatever. And more people than you would think were like, right here. And then he said, how many calls did you miss? And they kind of had a number. And then he's like, how many of those left a voice message? And there was a very significant disparity, right? I think you'll find that particularly with your prospects. Sue, do you have any other kind of technology that you're using differently or in addition to what Sarah Beth said?
No, we're pretty much all the same bells and whistles. And again, just point out too, besides, I'm always surprised when somebody doesn't have a call center at this day and age. It's just such a great backup tool, even if you still have staff. For when they're busy. If you've got somebody in front of them, you want to have a good option so that they can be taking care of everything. And again, the website, I'm still shocked and amused. I have a new property I took over a few months back, and the manager had made the website.
Oh,
yeah. Great effort, but you couldn't make a payment. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't see units. So we're talking about all these tools. You got to answer your phone. If we're answering your phones, make sure for the people that do go online and are looking for you that it works and it's integrating. Again, knowing all those tools you have. There's just still a lot of websites out there that, or they say they do things and then you get it and you get the 404 error page, or it doesn't take you where you want. So be constantly, like with all your vendors, testing that everything works on there. So when you're answering the phone and telling people, or you're guiding people as all the ways that they can find you, that it's all working.
Or it has the static pricing. It drives me insane.
Oh, let's just not even that's a whole separate one.
Join us next week for Pricing 101.
I mean, that's a whole separate topic. I want to just piggyback on what Sue said. Even with the websites, we shop websites, and we have seen a lot of technology breakage that might not be blatantly obvious to an owner operator that technology break is even there, or maybe even in the manager. We had one where the PMS system and the website weren't talking properly. So all those interactions were getting lost in cyberspace because the two weren't connecting. They would have never known unless they had their website shopped. So that's another systematic thing you should be doing as an owner operators. You shop it, have a friend shop it, or have a professional service shop it. But I would do that, because technology breaks. I mean, I was having internet issues right before we jumped on here and almost had a panic attack. Right. We're so reliant on it when it works right. But I think people tend to you guys remember when Facebook and Instagram was out like a couple weeks ago? I had all my friends texting me like, can you get on Instagram and Facebook right now? I'm like, is this really what we're talking about right now? But I mean, it's like our human nature and how we have been conditioned at this stage of the game in the digital era, right? So it all has to work, it all has to sync, it all has to talk. So I would recommend getting your website shopped as well.
Well, and that goes back. Sorry, go ahead.
I would also suggest. Oh, I'm sorry, Sue.
No, go ahead.
I would also suggest ensuring your Google My Business profile is correct, has the correct number. On the website, that if you have the funds, that you are choosing a website provider that gives you the abandonment leads, so that you're able to call those people back, or an abandonment move-in. And so as soon as that comes through, you see it, you are now attacking that lead because that person did not call you. And ensuring that the phone numbers on your websites go to your business. And there's not two separate, you don't have an owner's actual personal number and the store number, because that has happened when we're shopping for feasibilities quite often, where I actually have the owner's phone number on the website.
Ouch.
So I can't tell you how many times I get called for old clients that somehow put my number into things, and I'm getting their mad customer calls or help with things. And I'm like, I worked for them. Like I did a project for them 7 years ago. Why are you calling me? But I wanted to circle back when, Jessica's point about how important it is to shop your websites, and that one step further is go through and rent a space, do a contact us, see how quickly you're getting follow up back, see how easy your lease up process is on your web page. So if you have glitches or things in there, you're finding them, and we know what our customers are experiencing. So when they say something to us, we know what they're talking about. We aren't unclear what our own screens look like.
I'm glad you brought that up, Sue, too, because we found also in a contact us form, it took that person 9 days to get back to the contact us person.
Oh, I'm shocked that they did at all. After 9 days, you might as well not. I mean,
yeah, why would you even bother at that point? They have probably rented. I mean, I would assume you probably got like a 98% chance that they've already rented. Maybe
Holy
a 2%
cow.
that they were
That's
calling
embarrassing.
for like something that they needed a couple weeks ahead. But I mean, this is a very need it now, needs-based business.
Yep.
You don't,
and this weekend,
it's not something you map out. Some people do, and God bless them. I wish I was that organized.
That's probably more common than we think now, with such a long time when people are working from home to answer remote calls or aren't checking emails. They're closing early. They're maybe only open 4 hours a day. That's probably way more common than we want to know.
It can be. And I wanted to piggyback on what both you and Jessica said, Sue, about the dashboards. Like all of your vendors offer dashboards. Please use those, because they will show you, you should just have a basic idea of trends in your business. And so, for instance, from my perspective as a call center operator, we're here, we've got a catcher's mitt on, right? We're going to catch anything you send to us. So if it's 100 this month and 90 next month, whatever that is, fantastic. But you as an owner operator, if you're keeping an eye on those dashboards and all of a sudden you see 1 month that says 12, I would assume something is wrong and like a phone call needs to happen, or, you need to get with a client services person, because that doesn't sound right. It doesn't go from 100 to 12 naturally unless something has changed. Right. Mm-hmm. And it is very interesting how so few people kind of even have any idea what their vendors are doing for them. And I've heard the same thing with the dashboards from the like Storage Pug, for instance. I know they have fantastic dashboard information. But if their owners aren't using it and they know who is, we all know behind the scenes who logs in and who doesn't log in, right? Mm-hmm. Use those dashboards. Use the data that's been given to you to make decisions for your business, for sure.
And if you have a vendor that won't give you that dashboard or won't give you the information you want out of that dashboard, you need to find another vendor.
Find another vendor. Yes, ma'am.
This is how it is. If people are not being transparent with you, whether it's a call center or a third-party management or anybody, if anybody won't, it's your business. You have the right to know everything about your business and the money you are spending. And if the people you are working with will not give you that information, then they need to go.
I'm going to piggyback off of what Sarah Beth just said about it is your business. So if you're going to employ the call center and you are not employing employees, please call the call centers back when they call you regarding your property. We consult with a lot of owners where the owners never call the call centers back. And I happen to get the emails because we're the consultants on the, and I said, hey, did you know about this? And no, what are you talking about? They called your phone and they sent you an email. I need you to follow up on this. And it's one of the reasons why you have a third party call center. So it's very important for you to do that, so you're still aware of what's going on in your property.
Well, bless you for doing that, Takaro. I had no idea you were having to pull those strings behind the scenes. Man.
We don't manage those properties, but we consult with them, and I kind of peek in every now and then. So, yeah.
I was just going to circle back to the dashboards. I'm just as guilty sometimes. You get busy. So make sure you don't have only one person with access to the dashboard too. I mean, I'm giving access to my area managers now because they're the ones who should be their boots on the ground. They need to have access to those and be using those as, training tools and the best way to run their properties as well. And I can't tell you how many times I take over a property and I can't get into the dashboards because the last person was the only person who had access to them. And then we got to reset everything. And then the owners often have to say, give Sue or so-and-so the information, they're allowed. Right. And then you lose sometimes a few days or a couple weeks doing all that just to get access to what they already have again.
Well, and from the vendor perspective, I'm going to say when you lose someone, make sure they know, because people who have access to dashboards sometimes have access to change things on dashboards that you may not want them to have any longer if they're not employed with your company. So that is I know sometimes it feels like an afterthought. Oh, we better let our third party people know about that. I would make sure that that's on a task list somewhere for offboarding employees, because that can be a problematic, we'll say. I love it. We are coming close on time, but we have time for a couple of more questions. I want to talk about the costs of getting the phone to ring in the first place, like the methods that you are using to actually drive people to your website, right? Because we know that's where we want them to go first. But what are you doing? Talk about the time, the energy, the resources, the money that you're going into those different methods to get those lines to ring.
Shannon, I'll start off with, just some aggregators out there. We are using Sparefoot. Sparefoot costs have gone up significantly. Mm-hmm. We're looking at like 3, possibly 4 months of rent before we even break even on the cost sometimes to get that lead in. So what I'm saying by that is you need to be monitoring this from an ad campaign perspective to see what works and what's most cost effective for cost per acquisition. We do Google PPC as well, a little bit of social media advertising. But we dump a lot of money into the aggregators. And I think a lot of people out there do as well.
We do our everybody and the Hat Lady. So our big thing is to go out and do the grassroots marketing. So to get people out, we're never going to be able to outbid the REITs on the web. They have more money than God, and they put it in locations they don't in cities they don't even have locations in. So you have to get out there and you have to generate your own traffic, be part of the community, do the grassroots marketing, make sure you have a great functioning website. You have to put forth the effort to bring the people in. It's not if you build it, they will come anymore, especially coming to this year where, occupancies are down 4%. So you're going to have to fight for all of those rentals, and you have to have those tools in place to make sure that you're closing all of those rentals that come in.
Yep. If you had to guess, Takara, do you have just a number off the top of your head that it says to make your telephone ring for your store staff to try to sell a unit? What do you think? Just get a round number.
It's going to be a different number for each store, unfortunately, but
Fair.
we have a store that is in a very saturated part of Louisiana right now, where we are paying close to $25 to $26. It is highly saturated, and the concessions in the market are wild, and we're talking 70% off for 6 months.
Yep.
That's a whole nother topic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And that's so true. Cause like an LA market store, depending and especially if you're you have a little budget and you're competing with REITs or anything or other larger operators, that that could get into the $50, $60 range. And that's where, like Sarah Beth was saying, we got to have all kinds of avenues to try so that, if you don't have those budgets, that you can do things. And, Stacy would be proud, Sarah Beth. The other thing we do is get your QR code on everything you can that you're handing out, so that you are having QR codes for all your marketing aspects, your operational aspects, getting reviews, all that kind of stuff. When you're doing these grassroots things, I've got one of my manager that's been with me 20 some years. Every site he's ever gone to, we're in the chamber, and he volunteers and he becomes an ambassador. And he goes to all these grand openings and mixers and things, and he's constantly handing out his stuff. And, it's making those community contacts, because sometimes those are, the key in, getting the word of mouth out about you. And I see Stacy had talked about, a referral program. And those are the things when you have managers who are proud representatives and ambassadors of your property, and give that customer experience, your referral programs are going to do really well.
Constant contact, email marketing. Another very affordable way to get out there and have your brand get out there and in front of people a few times a month.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about that at roundtables last week, because here it's the end of March. We're getting ready for university season, right? For the end of semester, and how you don't want to pay per click for every single college student who's looking for a 5x5 for the summer, right? They're already locusting up all of your facility. You don't want it click charge, click charge, click charge. So I love the idea, Sarah, about the URL or the code that goes straight to your URL, so they don't have to search. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I love the idea of that. I had somebody with the idea of go to the university, to the resident advisors, and hand them a stack of postcards that have that QR code right on there. That's the word that I couldn't come up with. So that instead of Googling it, they just go, oh, done. And they go to your site from that card. Save yourself that pay-per-click money, right? Because they're only going to be there for a minute either way.
We used to go a few Saturdays before, or sometimes even longer than they knew they had to get out. We'd get permission and we'd go with our moving truck, and they would promote it on the campus so that they could reserve and get their spaces, and we'd do it that way. And so we'd have our set a lot of what we were going to do for the colleges and pre-lease and pre-reserve them all right there.
Stacy said what I was about to say. You turn your spare foot off during college moving season, or it will bite you in the hiney big time.
And I would say find out the parents' weekend in April that all the parents are coming. And if you can, have a table or have your brochures and your flyers with your QR code there, because while the college students are clicking, so are their parents, because sometimes they
handle it.
Correct.
A friend in the industry actually gave me this as a heads up. She said the very first parent phone call that she receives, sometimes the first two, but the very first one, she gives them a really good deal, and she'll reserve that unit for them way in advance if they post on all of the parents' message boards about what a great deal they had, not mentioning that promo that they got. Promo's just for you, but make sure that you are promoting us on all of the internal message boards. And she said they've had really, really good luck with that as well. So I don't think she would mind if I shared that with anybody in a college town, because I love, a parent's web page or a task list or a app or whatever it is they're using these days. If they put your name on there, cannot hurt.
Definitely cannot. And I just want to round out this last, conversation right here before we wrap up, saying when Sue was saying, that they have managers going out and doing like referral programs and being in the local community, everybody through COVID kind of went like the digital route. We were forced to. You couldn't go kiss babies and shake hands during that time, right? But you can now. And you have to think of it when you're tracking metrics on social or on digital reach, impressions, conversion. It's the same in person. When you go to mixers and you hand out your brochures, that's reach, that's impressions. Like you're leaving something behind. So think about it the same way. You can gain the same results from both levers that you can pull, but you need to be pulling both levers, where I think a lot of people got away from grassroots.
Yep.
I come from a very, very old school marketing mentality of grassroots, local store marketing, and it does work. It takes a decent amount of time to nurture, but so does digital. Some people are not going to see your digital ad and initially, react to it. Sometimes it takes them seeing that several times before they react. So I think this was a great conversation today. I know we could keep going, but sadly we are out of time. I just have a couple closing comments and announcements to make. If you enjoyed today's session, we do these twice a month. This is called Self-Storage Unlocked. You can gain access to this by buying a ticket through Eventbrite, like some of you did today, or even better, become an SBOA enhanced member. You get free access to all of our video content. We do this a lot. We're known for it in the industry. And that is just $9.99 a month, or you can pay for the annual plan. It's $99.90. It's one of the cheapest membership plans out there to get good quality connections, networking, and content from the industry and from experts out there like we have on today's call. If you don't follow all of us on social media, I know all of our businesses have social media pages. Please follow all of our social media pages. Because we're always, posting where we'll be, what we're doing. Like XPS, you guys are doing a free month of center service. Yeah. No, but I saw, I think Sherry posted an ad. You're doing a free month of call center services if they're a new client, right? Something like that. And I saw that on social. So
that's right. If you're on the fence, now's the time, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Now is the time. And trade show season's back. We all were just in DC last week. We're coming into Vegas in a couple weeks. So if you will be at the Inside Self-Storage Expo in Vegas the first week of April, I believe all of our respective companies will be there. I know the SBOA will be there. And if you are an enhanced member, stay tuned to your email inbox, because all of our enhanced members are getting a invitation to a private event that we're having on Wednesday evening at the ISS World Expo. We will be back for another Self-Storage Unlocked in a couple weeks. We're going to start Q2 curriculum on April 11th. So stay tuned to our weekly newsletter that comes out on Tuesdays. It will have all of the Q2 content that we have coming your way for these webinars on Self-Storage Unlocked. And like I mentioned earlier, Storage for Rookies is next week if you want to join that training series. Again, everything we do, we put out on social media or in our newsletter. So thank you all for joining us today. Pleasure to have you guys here with us. Sorry we ran over by a couple minutes, but this was a great conversation. And I will see, I think, just about everyone in a couple weeks in Vegas, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I will see you guys there. Safe travels. Again, we'll be back on April 11th for another episode of Self-Storage Unlocked. If you missed any part of today, we do send out the recordings. If you're an enhanced member, you can log into your member portal and watch all of the videos we've done thus far for 2024. And then previous years, 2023 to 2022, 2021, 2020, I think, are out on our YouTube page. So you can always go get training on the SBOA YouTube page. Just keep in mind, things that we talked about 5 weeks ago are probably outdated already. So if you're watching content from 2022 and 21 and 20, probably doesn't have relevant, it probably has enough,
don't use that to raise your price right now. Don't do it.
The bone structure is still there, but some of the things that go into the bone structure have definitely changed. So just keep that in mind if you do watch some of our old training videos, as obviously everything evolves. And everything's evolving pretty quickly in this industry right now. So stay tuned, join us. We are here to help you guys and educate you. Ladies, it was a pleasure. I love when it's a girl gang like this one. So
yeah, we didn't do that on purpose. It just worked out that way. It's
did just work out there.
Well, if you want another girl gang event, come to the Y session at ISS. It's just for the ladies.
That is right. There is a special session for just the women at ISS. Anne is the keynote in Vegas. Sarah Beth said, I didn't know that. Wow. That's amazing. And then I see Sue, you're at the Charity Storage booth, and Charity Storage does Hoops for a Cause. Am I remembering the right one? Okay.
Yeah, I got to challenge you again. Come on over.
Oh, that's right. We did challenge each other.
Yeah. I think you won.
Did I? Oh, that's shocking.
No. That's only because I was playing all day trying to make money. And then I get to be the MC at the WISE panel. So I've got a panel of exceptional ladies that you get to hear all their experiences. So it'll be wonderful.
And that's so cool. Stacy and Lou and I are doing a session in Vegas too. And it's hopefully Stacy will chime in. I can't remember exactly the name of it.
I love it. We're going to throw those out there. We've got a panel. Our very own COO Jessica will be Jennifer. I said Jessica because I'm looking at you.
I was like,
I'm so sorry. She's going to be like, excuse me, Shannon, do you
Jennifer, I
know
know
my
you're
name?
on here.
I know. Jennifer Downer will be hosting a panel, and we're really excited about that. I love these panels. Did you guys like this?
Yes.
I absolutely love when you guys play off of each other. So much more than one person just standing there talking.
Yeah. And like I said, if you're going to ISS, it's a very robust conference. There are educational sessions galore. So please be thoughtful in how you're picking where you need to spend your time. And if you don't know where to spend your time, find any one of us. We've been doing this long enough where we could probably take your program and circle. You need to go here, 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 and here. So find us at our booths. The SBOA is off the hook for speaking at ISS. Kind of thankful for that one because we speak at just about all of these, like you guys do at USG, and it's a lot of work that we do to help keep educating the industry. But again, come visit us at the booth, learn about our products and services. Go see Shannon, go see Sue, go see Sarah Beth, go see Takaro, and learn more about us. So again, thanks, ladies. Safe travels out to Vegas. We'll see everyone soon. Have a great rest of your day, self-storage industry. Hope you're doing well out there fighting those declining occupancy rates. This is a season. This is a normal season. If you're new, please don't sweat bullets.
Buckle up.
Just buckle up, and it will pass. This too shall pass.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Correct.
Amen. Yes. All right. Everyone, have a good rest of your afternoon. Take care. We'll see you back soon. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you ever think about your future and where you'd like to spend the most time as you get older? And the most important question that comes to you is, how can I get there? If you're seeing this video, then likely you've heard about what a great investment self-storage can be, so you start looking into it. You spend hours learning about self-storage and you start to glean some great advice, but also you identify some major issues and questions that you need to answer. If you're brand new to this industry, you may be hearing and seeing so much information that you're feeling confused, frustrated, and maybe even ready to pull your hair out. Well, let Universal Storage Group help you navigate these waters to help fund your future paradise. Though we recently unveiled our new branding and look, Universal has been around for over 30 years, providing fewer headaches and higher income to our clients, trust and peace of mind to our storage customers, and education and improved quality of life to our amazing team members. Our services include award-winning full-service management, award-winning consulting services, award-winning manager and owner training, and award-winning developmental services and feasibility studies. When we say what we do for you, we really mean it. At Universal, we are a family looking out for one another from the bottom up. We feel that being the biggest has never really been our goal, but being the best, well, that's what drives every member of our team. With Universal, you just get more. Check us out online at universalstoragemanagement.com or reach out directly by emailing sales@universalstoragegroup.com. We're ready when you are, because what we do for you.
Thank you for calling self-storage. This is how may I help you?
Yeah, and do you guys have any storage available, spots available?
You said you're looking for a parking space?
No, I need some storage. I'm moving to town, and I need to put my house in there, or my apartment, I guess I should say.
Okay, absolutely. Are you looking for an air-conditioned unit or a non-climate?
I think non-climate. I don't think anything in there is probably that, sensitive.
All right, and so with that, our non-climate units with the drive-up access, we have the largest being 10 by 35s, and then down from that we have 10 by 30s, 10 by 20s, and 10 by 15.
Yeah, maybe a 10 by 15. I mean, actually a 10 by 20.
A 10 by 20? All right, and those are starting at $269 base.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.